So let's get to our first topic, which is obviously Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson got the news came out on Monday, Dr. King Day. We were not on the air because of Dr. King Day. There's a lot of stuff going on Monday. It was inauguration was going on. It was 3 NBA games going on, national championship. I knew people's attention will be everywhere. So this came out there, and me personally, when I saw Josina Anderson tweeted out about momentum is coming, saw a couple others say momentum was going to Chicago. I just felt like it was happening. I was just waiting for the initial bomb. And the funny thing about it, where we were in the chat and we were still talking about Ben Johnson, and Courtney kind of talked it into existence. She was like, I thought y'all done talking about it. Mikey puts in all caps Ben. And I swear I got like 3 texts at the same time from other people with the links with the official news of it coming out. I want to get you guys' opinion on where you were, how you felt when it happened. Mikey, I'll go to you. What were you feeling when this news came down?
Oh man, I was actually driving back from Wisconsin. So, if you're listening to this, please do not text and drive like I did. I got the alert on my phone and I quickly sent it over. I was shocked. I think, like you said, once Josina Anderson had put that tweet out there, I was like, hold on, like this shit is sounding a little bit more legit, when she said growing momentum that, Bears and Ben Johnson had come to an agreement. Yeah, what was that? Like 2 hours later that it was became official. So I was shocked. I was actually shocked that that they really got it done. I think we knew with just being the candidate and being that he kind of was the number one guy out there after Vrabel, that it was going to take some serious convincing to convince Ben Johnson to come to the Bears organization. Obviously, with the season that they had and the disappointment that they had. The question marks surrounding Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. And then it was going to take some significant money. And that's something that we've never really seen the Bears ever do as far as coaches. They never really paid top dollar for coaches. So I knew that it had to be like something crazy for them to go ahead and get the deal done. So I was super happy. It was always who I wanted. I always wanted an offensive-minded person to grow with. Caleb Williams, to grow with a young Roma Dunze. You just signed DJ Moore, so he's going to be with the Bears in a duration of 6 years. You want to go ahead and get somebody, to utilize him the right way. We all saw what type of player, he was last year. And it this year just didn't work out on so many levels. So when you can go get the guy, and for me, it's always important. It's like we're not getting a guy who learned from another guy. Yes, he has a lot of influences and previous coaches, but this is his own shit. He's not Matt Nagy running Andy Reid's system and getting a job off of that. This is a play caller for the last 3 years for the Detroit Lions. If you look at it, the very first year, without him and Dan Campbell's tenure, their offense was ranking in the 20s and higher in almost every category. The moment that he got there, everything moved down to single digits. This is somebody that is running his system, his scheme. He does the play calling. He's had success in this division, which we know is probably arguably the best division in football. So that was what I wanted. I was super happy for it. I'm still like kind of shocked that they got it done. I'm just ready kind of for the season to be over with, because now I want to start getting to combine, free agency. Like, I wish this has me more excited for the Bears and the future than I was 3 weeks ago.
Dante, I know you were always on the fence. You said you're not giving these niggas nothing whatsoever. What was your thought, your feeling when this happened, and what do you feel about the Bears actually landing the big fish?
I mean, it's like the meme I put in the chat. It's like Al Pacino, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me right back, every time. And so, but I didn't go overboard this time. So like, I'm not putting expectations on it. Of course, my homies know how I am. So they started asking me, so what you think y'all gonna win 11 games next year? I'm not gonna say anything like that until we fill the roster out and do things of that nature. But I was shocked. I was, talking myself into Mike McCarthy. Just trying to justify that hire. Pretty much that's the way I thought they were going to go when you heard all the leader of men and things like that. And then when we heard about how much money Ben wanted, I was like, I don't know. But I mean, right along the lines of them firing Eberflus during the season, we see that they are, starting to do things a little different in Hallis Hall. So hopefully, you know, this was the perfect time to do it because you bring in a new coach. Yes, he is another coach with no experience. However, you bring him in with a solid roster, a lot of draft picks, and a lot of money to spend. So you have room for error in season one. And if you really hit the nail on the head, then you hit the ground running. So I was really excited about it. Like I said, I haven't seen Ryan Poles smiling like this since he got hired. Like you could tell he was really excited about this hire, and I think that the fact that they are that I heard Ben say, it's their show. He's like, I'll have input, but it's their show. It lets you know that they, at least on the surface, there won't be a power struggle that everybody tried to make it seem like there would be. So, I know I'm done being cautiously optimistic with this team. I think right now I am excited though. So I think it was a good hire. We've seen everything he did in Detroit. We know that offensive line isn't coming with him. We just saw the offensive line coach will be staying, but there are a lot of good pieces out there, and we can fix this offensive line. I think they can do some damage. We saw the flashes. We didn't see everything we wanted to see year one, but I think we have a guy in there who now we can really line this up with Caleb, and I think that's important. That's the most important thing. If you're gonna make this switch after year one, you have to have somebody in there that's gonna rock out with Caleb, and I think that Ben, you know, if this clicks the way we think it's gonna click, I could see those two easily, being paired and giving us some things that we've never seen on the lakefront.
Yeah, for me, man, I think shock was the number one too. I just not the shock that they got Ben Johnson because I always felt when the smoke cleared that it was gonna be Ben. The shock was to me was the money. That rumored from Pro Football Talk he's making 13 to 14 million dollars a year, and just also the process. We've heard everything we've heard about the process has been well. I know a lot of Bears fans didn't understand why they were interviewing so many people. I've always said on here, I've said for weeks, I didn't care how many people they interviewed, just get the right person. And and to hear from Ben has been on a crazy press run. Like this is the third coach since I've been covering the team. I joined the beat in the second half of Nagy's last year. They didn't do this kind of press run with Eberflus 3 years ago. This nigga was on of course, outside of the actual press conference, which we'll get to in just a second. He was on every ESPN 1000 show, WGN, Fox Chicago. Nigga was on First Take this morning. Every outlet that you could possibly. This is a full promo thing, and it's about time that the Charter franchise acts like the Charter franchise. But it just felt like, from everything we heard, that he just wanted to be here. Both of them wanted to be here. George said in his availability that the first thing Ben told him was, "I want this job," and he finished the interview with, "I want this job," and it just felt like they're just a destination. I'm gonna give an old nigga reference here for those of you who are young and don't remember the show A Different World. Me and Bang brought this up on 79th Dallas. This kind of remind me of like when Dwayne was dating Kamiko, whatever shorty name was, and like he wasn't with Whitley at the time, but we knew that eventually they were gonna end up together in the last and later on in the season. That's what this kind of was. It was just like, oh, we want Ben and we're gonna wait this out. So in the meantime, we're gonna interview everybody else and they hear from sources, not just Ben himself, but other sources, that the process was thorough. That made me feel good. And it's just like, okay. And I'm gonna say this to Bears fans. I'm gonna say this to people criticizing Bears fans. Let Bears fans be happy. I know this is Bears tax out here. One thing I hated, winning the offseason. Offseason ain't over. Who said we won the offseason? You still got to go through the draft. You still got to go through free agency. There's a lot of holes on this team. Just because you got a coach does not mean anything. And let Bears fans be happy about something. We've had, in my opinion, the most disappointing season that I can remember with these expectations. I'm not setting expectations. I don't know, because I don't know what kind of coach Ben Johnson is going to be. It's like we don't 100% know what kind of quarterback Caleb's going to end up being. But those were the number one choices, and you went out there and got them. So whichever way this ends out, you can't blame the Bears. They did their part in getting the top two people here. And I think that Bears fans should be allowed to be happy for like a week. Then we can move on and talk about, okay, what draft pick should they look at? What should they do in free agency? What is coaching staff going to look like and things like that? So, this is something to me that is good. And Alex says in the chat, one thing he got from the Zimmerman pod with Ben's agent, that he's been around for 20 plus years, done business with them, and say he's never seen them ever been this competent. And he said this is a new Bears. And we're gonna get to Bunk Suit in just 1 second, but I want to talk about the press conference. Press conference was Wednesday morning. I was there. They had it in the basement of the PNC Center, which I've never been in this room. This is basically where they shoot the interviews that you see with players and Jeff Joniak, where they do the podcast and thing like that. I've never been down there, but there's a nice little press room down there. A lot of media there, a lot of local, a lot of national, and it just felt real professional when I got there. Have everybody there, and it was like a million McCaskies. They had like the first 2 rows of reserve, Ben and his family. And one thing that stood out to me was Caleb was there. Caleb was there. DJ Moore was there. Roma Dunze was there. Cole Kmet was there. And the thing about all these people were in different parts of the country, Cole was in Atlanta watching Notre Dame get their ass beat on Monday. DJ was in Orlando with his family for a vacation, which he trolled everybody with that Sonic thing. And I was the only one like, y'all ain't seen his Instagram story? This nigga's watching the movie Sonic. And then Roma Dunze looked like he just woke up 2 minutes ago. And Caleb has been in LA for like weeks at this point, since the offseason started. And so that was just good to see them there. And it just felt different. Winning the press conference doesn't matter because that doesn't mean anything when the game starts. But compared to other press conferences, it felt like he had a plan. We didn't get any corny quotes that we got from Eberflus. Put your working shoes on, and we're going to do the hits principle and stupid stuff like that. It felt like he was confident, knew what he wanted to do. And just everything just felt like professional, like a charter franchise to move. After that, we had media availability with Caleb, with Kevin Warren, with George, with Ryan. And I really felt like George and Kevin were really like, yeah, nigga, leave me alone. Like, George went up there and was counting out media members. He's like, yo, where's Brad Biggs at? Where's Mark White at? Shit, like, I read what y'all niggas said, and we spent the money. Kevin Warren was using even more big words, talking with his hands more, and they just felt real confident about, oh, we got our guy, and this is how we're going to do it. And it was good to hear from Caleb, too. I'm glad they made him available. But everything just sounded real professional for the first time. It felt like, okay, you got a guy who at least knows what he wants to do. I love the eye contact he had with Caleb and the guy saying, like, look, Caleb, you're very impressive. You're very talented. But we're not going to win here with just off you. We're going to bring – it's going to take everybody. And the number one thing I like before we go to Mikey and Dante was he's not coming here with a Detroit playbook. He's like, we're going to take the offense and build it around Caleb and have everybody be built around it, which is good. It's not like he's coming in here just playing the same thing. We've had coaches when they're real stubborn and just stick to the way they play things. The Matt Nagy thing, a lot of fans saw he was coming over here bringing Andy Reid's offense. So it really feels like finally he's got a path and a plan on how to make this work. And that's the number one thing I took from it. Everything is professional, and it didn't seem usual Bears to me. Mikey, what did you think about the press conference? What stood out to you from what you heard from Ben Johnson?
I was trying to stay away from the win the press conference narrative and stay away from getting caught in that. But I'll be honest, he had me ready to run through a wall. First off, like the number one thing I noticed is his eye contact, looking at everybody, that was there, speaking clearly, no cliches. Nothing rewritten, nothing written down already, pre-written. Like there wasn't any notes. Everything was off the dome. You can tell that he was well prepared for this moment. You can tell that, that he can be that, quote unquote leader of men. He can command the room, because I feel from everything that we've saw between fans and just us talking and even the media, everybody was thoroughly impressed with him and the way he was able to, handle that press conference. I really loved when he told, when he looked at the guys specifically, Caleb, Rome, DJ, and Cole, and he told them, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I think that's something that this locker room needed. I think after a year that they had, you learned a lot of bad habits, a lot of bad traits. And it's very, very imperative that you go ahead and you nip that shit in the bud ASAP. I think he was very forthcoming and saying, yeah, like this, obviously this does revolve around Caleb, but it is going to take more. So I was thoroughly impressed with him. I've been impressed with some of the things that I've been hearing from him. I haven't seen every single appearance that he's done. I felt like Buddy was on everything. That I was like, all right, I gotta like take a Ben Johnson break for a little. But I am gonna tap in over the weekend and hear what he was saying. The number one thing that was really stuck out for me outside of how he comported himself was just when he started talking football and getting down to the basics of the offense. There's a lot of people that say that bullshit. Oh, he's not bringing that Detroit Lions, offensive line. He's not bringing Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know that, and don't you think he knows that? Like, don't you think if this guy is everything that they say he is and he thinks he is, he's gonna be just fine going ahead and creating a playbook tailor-made for the guys that he has? The other thing is that he did mention, Ryan Poles mentioned on ESPN 1000 that Ben Johnson will have input with him as far as roster decisions and scouting and stuff along those lines. So that's all very big. The offense, how it's going to look in year one is not how it's going to look in year two, and not how it's going to look in year three. This is going to be a gradual evolution, but I think that he has all the ingredients that he needs. And I think they're going to pour into the offensive line. I think they're going to go ahead and add some speed to this team. But he seems like a guy that knows what he's doing. And the biggest thing for this franchise and for where this team wants to go in the future is offense. You have to improve your offensive output, especially when you have, somebody such as Caleb Williams with that talent. So going ahead and getting a guy that's offensive minded, that it's running his scheme, his play calling, it's going to be imperative, that Caleb and him hit the ground running because look, I just saw a tweet right now, now that Liam Cohen has gone from Tampa Bay to Jacksonville, Baker Mayfield will now have his 8th offensive coordinator in his 8th season. This is not what we want, anymore in Chicago. We've seen that for so long, So when you have somebody like Caleb Williams, you got to maximize him, and I think there's no better way than to do it with Ben Johnson. So everything I saw from the presser and his little promo run has been amazing. He genuinely wants to be in Chicago, and I appreciate those 4 guys showing up. I know you tweeted it the other day, but for all the shit that DJ Moore took, throughout the season, with the body language warriors, and he just didn't have a good year. Whether it was his own doing, whether it was Shane Waldron's, whether it was him and Caleb not having enough time and reps together, it just wasn't a good year for DJ Moore. But for him to go ahead and cut out from his family trip, being in Disney, to come and be there for that 11 a.m. press conference, that spoke volumes. And I think that whole offensive skill position player room, that they got to be geeked to have this guy there. They've seen what he's done with the Lions for the last 3 years, so that they're excited to get to work.
And before we go to Dante, one thing that also stood out to me was he shouted out the defense, specific players. Shout out Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds, and I think it was Montez Sweat and TJ Edwards. Saying that
he was
defense too. Yeah,
and he was really big on when he spoke with Carmen and Yurko this week. It was like an hour after the initial press conference. He actually mentioned, he was like Andrew Billings. He was like, honestly, from my perspective, he's like, from my perspective, Billings is really tough. And, when he went down that run game, it got leaky, and you can see that on film. So, he like he said, and how we're seeing, he's done his fucking homework.
Definitely. Dante, what's your take on the press conference and how it went down?
It's one of those situations where it was teetering toward feeling too good to be true, and I felt that the last couple of times, so I kind of cut it off, walked away, came back, watched the rest of it. But overall, I really enjoyed it, especially the part where he spoke about, this is not going to be the offense you saw in Detroit. I appreciate that, and that shows me, that kind of peeks into, his genius as an offensive mind, the fact that he, is smart enough, and this is something that all good coaches do, and we know this. You build your scheme based on the talent you have, and don't try to stuff your talent into the scheme you already created. So I think that's going to be really dope. I think it's going to be interesting to see what players he utilizes and who he doesn't. I'm right now early. Obviously he's one of those people who could get cut, but if they don't add another receiver, I'm interested to see how he uses Tyler Scott. I think it's going to be very interesting the way he uses DJ, because I mean, even though DJ didn't have the year we wanted him to have, he shows some new wrinkles in his game with the way they used him, kind of like Debo. And so, with the creativity that Ben Johnson has, I'm interested to see what he does with that. But overall, I really enjoyed the press conference. I think, like I said, Ryan, it looks like the energy that we wanted to be ending this season with is something that we're going to be pushing into next season. And so, it's one of those situations where I know we're going to get into Ryan Poles, but I think Poles and Warren, everybody in that building, they had a little pep in their step. You said George was talking spicy, looking for certain people. I think it's a situation where it's like they do finally understand that, in order for us to really change what's going on around here, we have to change the way we do business. We tried it last season where we tried to run it back and we say, okay, the new quarterback is going to fix it. That didn't work. And so now, I think we were really hard on Ryan Poles because last season didn't work. But, when you hear all the things behind the scenes about how he wanted to fire Eberflus, early on. So that let me know that I feel like, George and Kevin Warren came back and probably say, you know what? We got to give him a shot. It's not the same situation where you had a GM who was fucking up and it's like, all right, what we gonna do? So I think with Ryan, we still need to fix the offensive line. But again, this is a situation where you come into this offseason and you have a lot of runway. You got 10 picks, you got $80 million. So, you got a lot of runway. And from what I heard from Ben, from his entire press run, it was like this is a guy who was ready to be a head coach. Like he's really, really ready to, lock in and take on this challenge. And Scott, we talked about it throughout the week that, you were like, if he don't take this challenge, that say something about him. Well, I mean, we got our answer. Yep. Bro, he came to the division where he knows it's tough. He knows these teams are gonna compete. You got potentially 4 really good teams in this division. And so, the Bears have, traditionally been the team to fall short in that order. But I think, with what we got going on and the energy he's bringing, I loved what I heard. And like I said, I didn't want to get in that too good to be true mode because that's how I felt like I was going. So I stepped back a little bit. But no, I'm still excited about what I saw. And I think it was really good and needed.
I think he was very kind of candid and open too when people asked him about what he saw from from the outside looking in as far as the failures of the team this year. And I think without throwing any of the prior coaching staff under the bus, I think everything he brought up was very succinct. Like he said, listen, like Caleb had an up and down year, which many rookies do, like putting everything into perspective, not everything being so off the wall. He's like, hey, the defense wasn't as good as we thought. It was a little leaky in the run game, and that makes you more susceptible in the pass. It puts your linebackers in terrible positions. And like, it's just everything that he was saying. Like, to me, it seems like a motherfucker who's been, after Lions games, has been tuning into the Bears and seeing what's going on and taking notes. Like, it didn't seem like he just came up with this, This seems like somebody who's had his eye on his job. And I think even when he made the comment of, I thought the Bears were a sleeping giant, I believe that goes down to, it does kind of give us, a little bit more at ease for us fans who thought we were going to have a good year last year, because somebody else did see that as well. I think it just goes down to it being a total clusterfuck of, the whole entire process of keeping Eberflus, of keeping, of hiring Shane Waldron. The one question that they did ask him this week was, if the Bears job would have been available last offseason, would you have taken it? And who knows if he's lying, but I thought his answer was pretty solid. And he said, no, I wouldn't have taken it because mentally I wasn't prepared. Like, I wasn't in an emotional state to go ahead and take that jump last year. You know, I still had unfinished business in Detroit. I still needed to learn many more things as far as how to command a room, how to game plan and make structure for not only the offense but everything else. And it seemed like this year, you know, he gave everything he could to the Detroit Lions. And there's a lot of salty fucking Lions fans out there, but it's football. The shit happens. You could wake up and, you know, look at Lamar Jackson. Never had 2 turnovers all season. 2 turnovers in the playoffs, you know? Yeah. So it just happens. And I think he was ready to take this leap. And I think he truly wants to be in Chicago. He's excited to be in Chicago. And I think he's going to really revitalize this, you know, this franchise and really get people back, you know, geeked and excited for, you know, for Caleb Williams' prospect.
So cool. Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not